This video will show you how to remove and replace the lid switch on Whirlpool and Kenmore washing machines. Safety first, always disconnect power before servicing any electrical appliance. To change the lid switch on a washing machine, the first thing you have to do is open up the control panel. And to do that, there's two screws on this machine. They're on the back of the control panel. And they're just Phillips head screws, so you unscrew those. On a lot of machines, those screws will be located on the front of the panel on each corner. But undo those screws and get them loose so that we can open the control panel. And once the screws are loose, grab a hold of the control panel and gently pull it towards the front of the machine a little bit, and that'll disengage it from the panel, and then you can just lift it up and fold it over. It's got hinges, so it'll hinge back. This is what you find inside the control panel. The lid switch harness connector has to be disconnected, as well as both of the clips that hold the back to the cabinet have to be removed as well. Use a flathead screwdriver, just set it in that little slot and then bend it towards the back of the machine. It'll pop right out. So here's what they look like up close. Of course, when you remove the clip off of the lid switch harness, this is what it's going to look like. So I'm going to go ahead and remove those items now so I can take the cabinet off of the machine. Any paperwork you see there, go ahead and set it aside as well so you don't lose it when you start moving the cabinet around. But there's just a little tab type clip on that harness connector, so disconnect it, and then, like I said, just pop those clips off the cabinet. Those are brass colored clips, and save them aside as well so you don't lose track of them and can find them easily later when we're ready to put it back together. Now that everything's disconnected, you can grab a hold of the cabinet and just tilt it towards the front of the machine from the back to the front, and then just pull it away from the machine, and now you can set it to the side so you can work on it. The lid switch is actually, of course, attached to this cabinet under the lid, and the first thing you have to do is remove these two lid switch mounting screws. They're Phillips head screwdriver used as well. But remove those screws from the lid switch so that we can get it loose. Now, save these somewhere. You're not going to lose them, of course, because you're going to need the screws to reinstall. The new lid switch doesn't come with the screws. Underneath the machine, you're going to see the lid switch, and you're going to see a grounding screw and with a grounding wire that's part of that harness. That grounding screw is a 5/16 screw, so we need to remove it next. I'm using a 5/16 ratchet, and just unscrew that grounding wire, and then it'll just be free. Of course, save the screw aside so you don't lose track of it. We'll need it as well when we go back to reinstall the new lid switch. Now, the next thing you need to do after removing that wire, there's a harness clip that holds that wire tube in place. Just use a flat blade screwdriver and just pry it straight up, and it'll come up out of that clip. Okay, the next thing you need to remove is the wires from the clip on the edge of the machine, on the back edge, which is towards us. And I'm just using my fingers to lift them straight up and pull one wire at a time up through there. But you get the wires all loose, and now it's just hanging there, and the only thing left is to disconnect the actual clip of the harness connector. Just push in the tabs on each side of it, and it'll fall right through the machine. I'm using a flat blade screwdriver to mash in the tabs on each side, and then the old lid switch will just fall right down. Okay, now get the new lid switch, and of course the reinstallation is going to be just pretty much the opposite of what we just did, so we'll run through that real quick. Actually, I'm putting the lid switch in position first. Make sure it's positioned so the tab will be mashed down when you close the lid on it. And align the holes, and then start the screws and screw them in snug but not over tightened. You need to be very careful not to over tighten these, because this is a plastic lid switch, and if you over tighten the screws, it'll crack it or break the lid switch. So put them in there till they're just snug, and that's it. Next, I'm going to go ahead and put the harness tube back inside the clip that holds it in place along the rail on the side. Just pull the clip away from the body and slide it down behind it. Same thing with the wires on the front edge, or actually this is the back edge of the machine, but on this edge there's that other clip. Just go ahead and slide each wire into that so they'll be held in place. And then of course I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to slide this clip, mounting clip, straight up from the bottom. There's a notch on it, and there's a notch on that cutout on the body of the cabinet, so you have to line those up so it goes properly, and just slide it straight up in there and it'll lock in place. Now I'm putting that 5/16 grounding screw through the eye of the grounding wire and back into that the hole where the screw was originally at with the old lid switch. And 5/16 again is the size of this. I'm going to go ahead and just tighten it up snug. And that'll have the lid switch installed. And the next thing we'll need to do is prepare the cabinet base for us to reinstall the cabinet on top of the machine base. At the bottom of this, on the rails, there are tabs that stick straight up. They're supposed to be sticking straight up. There's 2 at the back and 2 at the front. Use a flat blade screwdriver to get that tab straight if it's not sticking straight up. If they're smashed or laid over, then the cabinet won't fit back on properly. It'll be very difficult to put on. Inside the cabinet you'll see the 4 slots that go over those tabs. And here's some close-up of what the slot looks like on the back edge. And here's a little bit of a close-up on what the slot looks like that goes towards the front of the machine. Those will have to go right over those tabs, and it'll be locked in place then. Now as you're putting this cabinet onto the rails of the base of the machine, the front edge goes underneath the rail on the machine base, and the sides go on top of the rails, so it kind of locks in place that way. And as you bend it back in place, or put the cabinet back all the way back, make sure the water diffuser is underneath the cabinet, that white plastic thing the water comes out of, and that way you can get the back up snug up against the cabinet. And of course what I'm doing there is I was checking to make sure that the slots are all aligned and all locked in place on the machine base from the cabinet. Now I'm reattaching the harness clip for the lid switch so it'll have power there, and I'm reinstalling these brass clips that hold the back onto the cabinet. And if you just set that little clip into the back and then set it in place, you just mash down on that hoop, and when you do that it'll snap right in. So it's nothing to it really, just kind of put it in place, you know, latched into the slot on the back of the cabinet and lined on those holes on the cabinet, and then just snap down. Once you've done that, the cabinet's installed. All you need to do now is close up the console or control panel. Make sure those tabs that are on the sides line up with the holes on the cabinet top. So kind of lift it up and kind of position it and get them lined up properly so they just sit down in. Don't force anything, you don't want to break any of those. Once you get it in place, just push it gently back towards the back so that the screw holes will line up with the screws that are already in there. I'm going to go ahead and tighten those screws down, and that'll get this installation complete. Thank you for watching my videos, and I hope this was of good use to you.